Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Daily Kerbal. Allow me to introduce to you the Freya 5, and at the same time account for a number of things that I have done while all of you wonderful lot have been away. The extra satellite missions that I picked up I decided to do on my own, because it's, at the end of the day, it's literally just me making a bunch of extra space flights that we've seen a dozen times over, me flying out to the moon, setting an object out in orbit there, and this time there isn't even the danger of me having to bring it back or anything. So I launched 2 satellites, which I will show momentarily. But until then, allow me to introduce to you, once again, Freya 5, a vessel designed to perform our first orbital flight around Minmus, the second moon of the Kerbal planet. I'm essentially going to be doing a direct ascent mission this time. That basically just means that this one rocket in and of itself is going to be designed to perform the entire flight by itself. And in fact, it's carrying something with it, a satellite. After I did some of those satellite missions, I noticed a couple other contracts pop up, one of which was placing a satellite in equatorial orbit of Minmus. Now, since I was about to perform an exploration mission to fly out to Minmus myself, I figured this was a pretty good thing that I could do while I'm at it. But I didn't want to send the probe out there and to just kind of leave it there, even though that probably would have made more sense. No, I'm a little sentimental that way, and I want the first flyby of Minmus to be performed by a manned crew. Or, you know, is that sexist? I guess it kind of is, since the pilot is actually a woman, but it doesn't matter. So we have actual pilots, an actual Kerbal crew flying out to Minmus for the first time, and they're going to be carrying the satellite with them. I mean, I don't know if it's going to work. I hope it will. Flying to Minmus is a bit more complicated than this flying to the moon, because Minmus is on a bit of an incline as opposed to our orbit. But just in case you're wondering, by the way, why I go through all that trouble of building myself a space station and then having a spaceship travel from Kerbin to the station and then travel in between stations and then perform a landing, is because if you look at this is a single orbiting mission that I'm going to perform, and the science that I'm going to get from it is probably pretty large. At the same time, I am spending 100,000 credits on a single flight, and you know, there are ways to do better than that. I'm also remembering something that I kind of forgot. Let's delete this fairing, because there's one other thing that I still want to do here, and that is I want to bring a science bay with us. Where are you? You're under science. There we go. The materials bay is something that we're going to need. Just, you know, the extra science that brings back is astronomical. And it's something that we're going to want. And then I'm going to put a stack separator on top of this, put that there, and then let's rebuild this fairing. Alright. Doot. 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 There we go. Not the prettiest of constructions that I've, you know, initiated so far, but it's good enough. Let me check my staging one last time. Separate fire. Separate. No, that does not have to separate. This separates before this one. So let me add another stage there. Take that one and put it there, like so. So, separate. The launch stabilizer separate. Twin bore engine fires. Main sail fires. The twin bores are disengaged. Third stage disengaged. Poodle fires. Fairing is coupled. Yep. Everything that happens above this stage is pretty much irrelevant. Okay. So, I guess we're good. Yeah. Yeah, we're good. Okay. Saving Freya 5. That satellite is not something that's going to be a regular thing on this ship anyway, so... Well, let's see if the ship can make it to our second moon. If we can get to Minmus with this one. And as per my usual, what the heck is going on right now? Hello? Hello? Apparently it can't find the ship. I don't know what's going on. I hit space out of a panic, and I can't see anything. We are heading upwards, but I'm flying blind. I am literally flying blind right now. What the heck is going on? on. Let's revert this to launch. See if that fixes it. There we go. Okay, that was weird. Anyway, throttle up to, well, basically max. A little bit underwards. SAS on. Fuel on display in stage view. And Minmus, here we come. Bit of an unstable launch. A little shaky. Nothing too terrible. The shot is straight and our acceleration is good. In fact, it's a bit too fast. There we go. I don't know if I talked about this earlier, but I mentioned something called direct ascent. Just in case you don't know what that means. I'm assuming if you're watching a Kerbal Space Program video, you're probably aware of terms like that. But direct ascent is basically the method in which you launch a single rocket and send it out to the moon. Whereas obviously the other method that exists for space travel is the one that I have basically always been utilizing, right? And that one is called Earth Orbit Rendezvous, or Kerbal Orbit Rendezvous in this case. That's where you launch your spaceship parts up into orbit individually and then assemble them whilst you're up there. Alright, the twin bore engines are not actually going to get us up to our desired apoapsis. We have now switched to the mainsail engine, enjoying the beautiful view of our Kerbal system. We're at a high enough apoapsis now for us to start orienting ourselves towards the horizon and begin our usual orbital maneuver. Okay, now the more fuel we have left in this tank, the better. More specifically, the less fuel that we consume from the actual final flight stage of the Freya 5 is probably going to be it's the best. I mean, we seem to be doing just fine. I did kind of extend the fuel supply on the ship as opposed to the normal amount of fuel that we usually carry. So we are going to have to try and get out farther. I'm also, just because I'm a sentimental person, I'm going to rotate us that way. Camera's going to flip over, once we hit orbit, it's going to flip over to the other side, right? And I want my Kerbals looking out the window to not see Kerbin upside down. I actually don't want them to be upside down relative to us. If you take a look at them right now, they're in there, sitting in their little Kerbal cockpits, with their little seats. Malberg Kerman expertly flying the ship. Approaching apoapsis. Slowly but surely, we are also slowly but surely running out of fuel. So let's decrease our burn. See if we can at least get into orbit with the mainsail. That would be swell. Let's give it a minute. Let's up a bit closer to apoapsis, like yeah, close. And now let's start burning. Remember, the magic number we're looking for is 2250. Something like that. And I'm almost certain that we're not going to be able to get there on the power of this engine alone, but hey, worse things have happened. In the center of the prograde vector to maximize the efficiency of our fuel. Oh, we might just get it. See if I can't decrease fuel consumption a bit. And there we go. Okay. Well, it wasn't that terrible. Poodle engine should be able to do the rest from here. We don't actually need to get that much more to burn. There we go. Stage view is going to be only slightly inaccurate for us right now because the satellite that we're carrying carries a minimal amount of fuel. Since the ship is going to be flying it, carrying it more specifically, that means that we're not going to have to worry about piloting the satellite. I imagine this is kind of what the Stay-Putnik must have been designed for, like a satellite that you carry with a ship. It's very weird that, considering the first space flights in actual history have all been unmanned. Okay, I'm going to set Minmus as our target, and as you can see, that orbit is not necessarily, you know, parallel to ours. So we're also kind of in luck because I think that our encounter would bring us somewhere to the point where it actually is. So maybe I don't actually have to make the orbital adjustment. Maybe I can just straight up shoot for Minmus. We're going to give it a shot. Okay. You can see the intersection, closest approach, and where we get, so I gotta kind of move up like that, and as I expected, we do actually get a periapsis this way. Periapsis of 1 million. Is there a way that we can make that a little better? Yeah. We can perform course corrections as we approach it. But if we could get closer, then it would be easier to... It's 237,000. Oh, push it back. I accept this. Alright. Orient ourselves towards our maneuver, as we have done a billion times before. There we go. Our contract only needs us to actually fly by Minmus. I'm going to jump a bit ahead of our schedule, and you know, skipping over a contract or two, I am going to just straight up orbit it. I don't see any point in waiting. I could initiate a flyby, complete that contract, and then just, you know, kind of drop off the satellite and have it orbit on its own fuel. I'm gonna save that option for like an emergency, like if it appears to me towards, you know, the periapsis of our encounter that the ship doesn't have enough fuel to get back home, to orbit and then get back home. Orbiting Minmus is pretty easy. It's a tiny planet. Getting away from it is it's not a planet. It's a tiny astral body. Getting away from it is not really that tough at all. Let's see how long this burn takes us. It's indicating 1 minute 30 seconds, which seems very short to me, but we'll find out. We are burning from periapsis towards apoapsis, although that may have just been a coincidence. And it may have just pushed it out when I wasn't looking, but it didn't seem like it. Interesting, isn't it, how the distance from here to the moon seemed so big when we first started. Like, that was so far away to start with. Now, when you look at it, considering we're trying to get to Minmus, the moon actually looks very close. I don't know, maybe it's just me. It's also worth pointing out that since we're not equating our orbit to Minmus around Kerbal, our orbit around Minmus is not actually going to be equatorial either. And I think that the contract specifically requires us to position equatorial orbit around Minmus. So I'm not gonna, you know, I didn't save myself the task of performing an orbital correction. Also not a fan of how rotating the view in the map moves the sound around. Like if I do it over here, then I am now exclusively hearing the thruster sound in my left ear, and it is really bugging me. But this is the direction I have to look. I have to kind of move over here to get it equally in both ears. And I'm kind of addicted to the map screen. I don't actually feel comfortable just sitting here while the burn goes and relying entirely on this burn meter. But you know what, we'll do it this time just so I don't have to experience that awful feeling of having the sound in one ear. Also going to turn the lights on. Must be very dark for our crew up there. Really saddens me the niche nature of this game. I will maintain that this is definitely one of my favorite games of all time, and you know I acknowledge its flaws. The lack of any kind of acceptable learning curve, for example. How close can we get? You can get up to 100,000 meters. I'm not going to mess with that anymore. There, 100,000 meters. That is an excellent burn. Super burn. It's going to get us right where we want to go. Nice and close and personal. So let's go ahead and fly all the way over there. In case you're keeping count, we're about to enter our fourth day. Yep, this is the fourth day Kerbal time. Fifth day Kerbal time. There we have the orbit that we need to reach. I actually overdid it a bit, which is fine. We have plenty of fuel left. What are these achievements? First flyby of Minmus has been initiated. Excellent. Explore Minmus. Let's keep going. Ooh, okay. So the contract is actually complete now. Okay, well, in that case, I think I'm going to cheat here. Hang on. Let me, It's too late to quick save now, but I'm going to jump back to the tracking station. Considering that I think now this counts as it's actually not the tracking station that I wanted to go to, but the administration facility and the mission control. Oh, never mind. I was hoping our next contract would be to orbit Minmus. I could have picked that up. Well, never mind that. Then I will accept the science data from Space Around Kerbin contract, so we don't lose that one by accident. Although the Stinglestein Kerbin Station expansion is also... Anyway, I'm sorry, I got sidetracked. I came back here to see if I could cheese it and pick up another contract. I can't, so let's jump back to the Freya 5 and just continue our flight. My goodness, is it dark. We haven't run out of electricity, have we? It's always a danger out here. I always worry that if I leave it out too long. Alright, shouldn't be too tough anyway, because when we come out the other side of this, as we witness the Minmus sunrise, let's take a look at that. Sunrise is over Minmus. And we close in on our periapsis. We can begin the orbital maneuver right now. Malbert, if you would be so kind as to flip us over to retrograde. Excellent. Now let us burn. And establish orbit. Hope we don't run out of fuel. We came pretty close, so it shouldn't be too hard. Minmus is funny. Looks like a giant ball of mint. It's all green. Oh, there we go. Line is converging. We got a ton of fuel left, so I have absolutely no reservations as to sending a lander on a craft like this next time. Okay, but before we do anything else, we got some experiments to perform. Alright, so number 1. Observe the mystery goo. 25 science. We're in space high over Minmus right now. 100,000 meters counts as high. Log the temperature. 20 science. Keep it. Barometer. Log pressure data. 30 science. Keep that. We can. I'm actually going to deploy our fairing now. Here we go. And I'm going to take a crew report. Going to transmit that home. Observe the materials bay. This is not the mystery. It's the materials bay. 62.5 science for test in space high over Minmus. Keep that. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to EVA our scientist. Where is he? Bob. Bob is our scientist. Now, let's very carefully move him over here. You will notice that I have constructed something for him to grab onto so that he can safely perform his work. Let's take that data. Let us collect that data. Remove it. Restore the unit. I do actually have another set of this on the other side. I'm just, we're going to need to collect all this data anyway. Okay, that's all the data collected. Let's go collect this one too. Collect data. Restore. All right. While we're out here, let's take an EVA report. And keep that. Grab on. And board. Alright, we're good. Now, step 2. For step 2, I'm actually just going to drop the satellite. Let's extend its solar panels. Extend these solar panels. It has its own fuel, and I think it should easily be able to put itself in the orbit it needs to be in on its own. Our incline isn't even that bad. So I did push us a little bit too far. Anyway, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to fast forward to the intersection point. It's right over there. Right about there. Okay. Bit too far, but anyway, now let us detach this one. There goes the satellite. I'm going to switch over to it. Not the wreck, but the satellite. There we go. Now, still has a signal from the relay, so I can command it. That's good. And now let us start maneuvering. I believe what we want to do is we want to maneuver along. Yep. Nope. Give me a second here, folks. Alright, I don't have any reaction wheels on this thing, so that was a mistake of mine. Alright. Yeah, look at how easily this thing maneuvers. Piece of cake. We're not going to hit the craft, are we? No. Okay, we're moving away from it. Okay, apoapsis is in the right place. Now all I do is go over to the apoapsis. Can exit that. return to our prograde vector. Alright. Should still be within reasonable deviation. I'm going to wait till we get to the other side. Over there. I will continue to burn prograde. Extend that side of it. Whoop, there we go. Done. Satellite is now in orbit. And I shall dub the Minmus Satellite 01. You know what else this thing doesn't have? It doesn't have any battery packs. Doesn't matter. It has solar panels. That should be fine. Let's position them for maximum efficiency. We have a relay antenna. It's going to be extremely useful. Mystery goo canister is just there to satisfy the contract needs. Now let's switch over back to the Freya. No, not set as target. Switch to. Alright, now, we still have more work to do here. Specifically, I want us to get into low orbit over Minmus. Thing is blinking that we got the contract complete. I don't remember what low orbit counts as here, so I'm just going to go down to, I don't know, 30. That should be low orbit. Looks like very low orbit, in fact. Plenty of fuel left. Alright, now that we're here, all of our experiments should bring new data. Let's see if that's true. Observe materials bay. 100 science, space near Minmus. Sweet. Let's take a crew report, transmit it. Let us check the mystery goo. Keep that. Log pressure data. Keep it. Log temperature, keep it. I'm going to do a couple of orbits around Minmus right now. Enjoy that beautiful sight of the minty landing space. I'm going to spare you the trouble of having to watch this. I'm just going to go all around it. I'm going to continue to collect EVA reports from every biome that I can, and I'll see you when I'm done. Okay, one orbit later, we have passed over some of these greater flats, brought back a bunch of EVA reports. I picked up pretty much every bit of science that I think we can on this particular orbital path. I could spend, like if I was really committed, I could spend some of that fuel that we have to try and put us on a different inclination. See if we can maybe get some EVA reports from the polar regions, but honestly I think this has gone on long enough. We get nice comms from that relay satellite, which is pretty good. For now, I think it is time that we went home. So let us begin that process. I'm going to start trans-Kerbal injection right now. Basically extending our apoapsis in the direction of Kerbal until we manage to pick up the gravitational pull. Let's wait for our encounter. We're going to have lots of fuel left at the end of this, so I'm pretty happy about that. Paves the road for future space exploration. When if we continue to do like Minmus landings, just one at a time for the amount of science that we need, it is entirely possible that we won't actually be utilizing a space station infrastructure, one like the one that I built for the moon. So you might be thinking that I'm doing this is just a lot easier than having a space station around Minmus and stuff, but still, This is what the decision that makes sense. It is less fuel consuming. It is cheaper. Not necessarily, if you just want to do one flight, but if you want to do multiple Minmus landings, then this is definitely the cheaper solution and the more practical. So bring her in. Shouldn't be too tough. We pretty much do the same thing that we always do, which is try to achieve a periapsis of, oops, no, that's fine, periapsis of 35,000 meters. And that should just land us safely. Okay, here we go. Gotta do it nice and carefully now. 5, 3, 35. Perfect. Let's bring her in. We've basically come to a stop almost in the middle of space. And we're now once again caught by Minmus for a bit. But that's fine. We're now ready to speed all the way. This has been a 15-day mission in Kerbal time, by the way. Keep in mind that Kerbin days are 6 hours long. You can see it, because after 6 it flips over a new day. So, divide that by 4. And that's how many human days we spent. Alright, we're coming in. Those pods you're seeing are a bunch more rescue contracts that I picked up. I'm probably going to do those off camera just because it's not necessarily that interesting watching me perform a bunch of orbital rendezvous and pick up a bunch of stranded crew. Not the upteenth time at any rate. But again, I picked these up because, I can do these missions, or I can buy extra Kerbals who keep just getting more and more expensive. It's actually cheaper to rescue them from orbit and have them in your program that way. I'm not kidding, it actually is cheaper. Alright, well, we're here. So I do believe that these two should separate simultaneously. Let's put ourselves towards retrograde. It's going to be another dark landing. See how it goes. Alright, here we go. Going to burn as much of this fuel as we can to bring down our speed. We're going very fast. So the better I can slow this down, happier I'll be. Also, this will make sure that we don't fly out of orbit like we did a while ago. It's still possible even at 30,000. We're already starting to burn up. So I'm going to kill the engines and separate. Any second now. Now, yeah. There we go. We've separated. And we're burning up pretty quick. Yeah, look at that. The SAS turn off now. Just keep the brunt of the heat shields facing towards the burn. Man, it's got to smell pretty terrible in there. Fumes coming off of that heat shield. Ugh. Shouldn't be much longer. Let's see what we completed in the meantime. Successfully deployed the satellite. It's still out there. Did an excellent job with that. Minmus orbit. First scientific data from Minmus. Performed a spacewalk in orbit of Minmus. Escaped the gravitational influence of Minmus. All that brings us back, minimal science and some reputation. Which, by the way, I checked since. Apparently reputation influences the types of missions that you get. I noticed this very handy KSpedia button that I never had an inclination to use before. This is still not the most of a heat shield that has been burnt out for me before, but it's definitely up there. But yeah, we're going to be just fine. Let's rack up another successful mission, a ton of science, and then as a reward, we get to spend it all. There we go. Alright, now we just gotta wait once again. I'm going to speed this up a bit. Wait until the parachute symbol turns off of red and yellow. There we go. Chutes deployed. Chutes fully deployed now. And now we just cruise down to the bottom. Well done, everybody. Godspeed the crew of Freya 5. This is very likely to be one of the biggest science missions we've performed so far in a single launch, and maybe even otherwise. Excellent. Recover vessel. Let's see how good we did. Come on, don't keep us in suspense. Holy smokes. Yep, this is definitely a new record. So we're carrying a total of 473 science earned. Where did I get the rest of that science then? Oh, yeah, right. I'm sorry. That's from the EVA reports that we sent back, the ones that we transmitted. So yeah, we earned like over 600 science. I believe we were down to like 20 before we started the episode. That's a ton of science. We did really well. The next mission is going to be pretty interesting because it requires that we recover a vessel from the surface of the moon. We also got our first level 2 Kerbals, Bob and Mauber. Well done, guys. You've earned it. And now, let us spend some points, my favorite part of this game. Since we're now building like tiny satellites, this might actually be something we want to invest in. But other than using, for satellites, I've never actually found a good use for these micro-propulsion systems. I've always been able to just find better solutions using big ones. But it's about time that we got this one, Advanced Exploration. And it may even be time that we start picking up techs from the 300 science tier. Or we could just, pick up everything from this lot. Going to supersonic flight. All that jazz. What can we get for 300 right now? We can get the inline Clampotron. That's a good one. We could get some scanning tech. Bring in a bunch more science, and this is also good for mining stuff on the surface of planets. It's not something that we're going to be, looking to do for a while. Or we could get the field science option and start constructing rovers. Better landing struts, larger heat shields. I'm going to get one of these, and then one of the 300 ones, because that's kind of the best thing we can do. I think it's about time that I just kind of invested in the fuel systems. It's one that we could probably use. And then, which one of the 300 science bits do we want? This doesn't actually... Well, it does have the fluid spectrovarlometer, whatever that means. Or variometer, I can't tell if that's a lowercase I or a lowercase L. Probe cores, communications arrays, or more electrics. I'm actually going to go with advanced landing. Yeah, instead of going for one of these, I'm going to go for two of these. I'm going to go for supersonic flight and advanced landing. And that's going to be our science. Thank you very much, everybody. It was a pleasure, as always. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next episode, where I will presumably have rescued all those Kerbals stranded in orbit, and I will come up with what we're going to do next. If our contracts are any indicator, and the next thing I'm going to be plotting is how we can create a ship that can land on the moon, and we can bring it back. Shouldn't be much of a problem considering we have all those space stations set up. So, yeah. Thank you very much for joining me, everybody. I'll see you next time.